The level of charitable giving in the U.S. compared to gross domestic product has hardly changed in the last 50 years. But you'll learn from Ben Erwin how his company CharityBuzz is working to leverage the powerful force of capitalism to flip the giving script on this episode of Making Our World Better.
Welcome to the Making Our World Better podcast, where you will find motivation and encouragement through lively conversations with inspirational people who every day are making our world a better place. Now, here's your host, Jay Clark.
Welcome to the podcast. I am Jay Clark, and what a cool opportunity to have a conversation with Ben Erwin, the visionary CEO of CharityBuzz, the world's leading impact marketplace for once-in-a-lifetime experiences, exclusive items, and unmatched access that helps nonprofits. Through its premier online auction platform, upscale shopping experience, private concierge business, corporate hospitality, and sweepstakes programs, CharityBuzz brings dreams to life and helps charities thrive, and under Ben's leadership has generated more than $500 million in incremental funds for more than 5,000 charities. Let that sink in. Ben joined CharityBuzz in 2008 because he was captivated by the idea of leveraging a for-profit business to affect meaningful change within nonprofits. Can't wait to learn more. Rising through the ranks from GM to Chief Revenue Officer, President, and now CEO, Ben has overseen transformative mergers and acquisitions, strengthening the company's market position. I love his vision for 2024. That we can make a tangible impact on difficult issues if we center our efforts around results. I can't wait to get into all of this. Ben, thanks so much for joining me this morning.
It was a great intro, Jay. Thanks for having me.
I would love to start simple and just how would you describe CharityBuzz and its mission to somebody who really doesn't know much about it?
The destination to live out your wildest dreams and support amazing charitable organizations at the same time. So what's really key for us is figuring out ways to compel people to give more than they would otherwise by offering them up opportunities that make them smile, that maybe they've never seen or thought were available before. And that allows us to hopefully increase the overall size of the pie, meaning the total amount of money given to charities every single year. As I'm sure you and most of your listeners know, that number has been at the same level as a percentage of GDP for 50 plus years. And giving in the US, when adjusted for inflation the past 2 years, has been down. And that's really, really, really frightening, especially in 23. When we had a red hot stock market. There's a very direct correlation between giving and S&P 500 performance. So we clearly need to be complementing traditional fundraising activities. We need to innovate because at the end of the day, my belief's pretty simple, but it's if more money goes to charities, just better outcomes are available for everyone. I can't tell you exactly what that looks like for everyone, but I think most people, or hopefully all people, would agree that if we just more money went to these organizations that are trying to solve all these really difficult problems and produce all this positive impact, things would just be better. And the other way I look at it too is like, it's not like things are getting better and the need for dollars to the charitable sector is less.
Correct.
I think I can make a really good argument that things are worse.
Correct.
Right? Environment's getting worse. All these external factors, like the need for this sector to provide services and support to all these different groups and causes is at an all-time high. So I'd love to see a world where when the need increases, so does the amount of support and the converse of that's happening. So we want to help fix that. And we do it because people are spending more money on experiences. People... they have this whole category within the way they look at the GDP called non-essential activities, restaurants, travel, cultural events, concerts, all this stuff like you don't need, but you want. Right. That's growing at a remarkable rate. It's going to represent a quarter of our GDP. Charitable fundraising represents like 2 to 2.5% of our GDP. So I like thinking of let's go over to this slice of the pie that's 10 times bigger. Let's just get a little of that over here, and it could have a relatively significant impact on the total amount of money being raised. So we're trying to just lead kind of a movement to do more of that. We're not going to do it ourselves. I think this whole social enterprise space is great. And yeah, I want more for-profit businesses to get into the business of raising money and awareness for charities, because the most powerful force the humankind has ever encountered is capitalism. Capitalism makes everything happen. So let's make it do some good. Let's leverage it as a vehicle for positivity, and it'll offset some of the other things that capitalism causes, which isn't so great.
Well, I love that because, one of the things I learned early in my career in nonprofits is that nonprofit, it's just a tax code. And at the end of the day, regardless of the impact of the work you're doing, it's still a business.
Yep.
And you have to be sustainable and all of the business things that come from capitalism. And I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit more about how we can leverage that capitalism to drive greater impact. And I mean, I love that it's, part of it is a new way to raise money and innovating there. But talk a little bit more about that, if you would, about how we can leverage capitalism to help nonprofits.
Yeah, Jay, you make a good point.
Doing.
I mean, like we have this line in the tax code that says these 501c3 organizations are tax exempt. And that's led us to treat the for-profit and the nonprofit sectors completely different. Different rules, different incentives. Right. This one can't make any money. This one can make all the money. This one can't innovate. This one can try and fail all over the place. But it should be no surprise to everyone that the leading companies in the for-profit space are the ones that are expanding, growing, scaling. And so we want to sprinkle a little bit more of that in the charity sector. I think a lot of it comes down to how you leverage capitalism, intentionality. So intentionality is important, but it's not the end all be all. So you see a lot in the for-profit business. Intentionality is all about maximizing value for your shareholders, right, making as much money as possible. So if you think about that in the charity sector, shareholders are the constituents. It's the people that are being affected or involved in whatever the mission of the organization is doing.
Yeah.
We have a great strategic partner, the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. By every metric, it's one of the best charitable organizations in the world in terms of what they do and the impact they generate, not their margin of overhead, 990. And I think they put it the best way is at the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, we reject the term nonprofit. We are a for-profit company. Our shareholders just happen to be people and families affected by blood cancers. We come to work every day to maximize value for our shareholders. So that's the culture they've created there that's led them to be a more progressive and successful than a lot of their peers. Yeah. So then it comes back to intentionality. So there's always questions or skepticism as to why people give or do charitable activities. Mm-hmm. Think about somebody who donates a large gift to have their name on a wing of a hospital. Well, right. A lot of people will come out, especially in today's age, and say, oh, Jay just gave that because he's got a big ego and he wanted his name on the building. Who cares? Jay gave a lot of money. Right. Jay's not spending that money at the healthcare foundation. Mm-hmm. It's being given to them to support their mission. So why are we doing anything to provide friction that may prevent Jay from giving these large amounts of money?
Such a great point.
I think as you leverage capitalism, it's we got to think about all of these different ways that I can encourage Jay to give more money to charity, because that's the outcome. And the outcome is all I care about, whether you're doing it for the most altruistic of purposes or because it's good for your business and maybe gets you networking or I don't care. The money still works the same way when it gets in the hands of these organizations. So that's how we think about capitalism. It's if you can, it's like cause marketing when Carol Cohn came out with all of her studies 20, 30 years ago. Cause marketing was always a good thing to do, right? Your brand should support charities, double bottom line. Right. But then when she came out and showed, hey, if you do this, if you align your CPG brand with a cause that resonates with your audience, you will increase customer conversion by 50%. So whether or not that brand cares about the foundation that they're supporting or not, who cares? Because they're still doing something that's helping, and it's getting in the hands of the people that can actually put it to work. That's capitalism. And
I love it.
We know it works. Again, it's the most powerful force the human race has ever seen, but we're scared to touch it in the charity sector. And I think it's holding us back.
So true. Well, and I mean, you've worked with thousands of nonprofits over the years. And what are some of the things that you see, some of the stronger ones that they have in common, especially when it comes to kind of this business savvy mindset?
They operate like businesses. There's a lot of people that come from the business sector. So you're seeing a lot of organizations bringing in people from Fortune 1000 brands, maybe financial background. So they're applying those principles because that's the only way they know how to do it. They're more comfortable with taking risks and failing and learning and failing fast, which is obviously very prevalent, especially in the tech world. Mm-hmm. They are not allowing what they've done in the past to dictate what they are going to do in the future. So we see a lot of charities. I mean, we run online auctions, which is not a breakthrough idea anymore, but there's still pushback and hesitancy because it's different, right? It's not the silent auction, a live auction at their event. Right. So we hear a lot. It's like, we're not going to do this because we've done it this other way for the past 10 years. It's like, could you imagine when Amazon was growing or some amazing company and the founder and the board got together for a big meeting and the board's like, we think we should go start doing web services. And Jeff Bezos said, no, I don't think we should do that. Why? Because we sell books. So we're just going to keep selling books. Like, he would have got run out of that place faster. Right. But of course, that's not what happened. But that is the kind of the old school mantra of a lot of these charitable organizations. So I think it's more and more like operating it like a business, right? Who's our target audience? How do we deliver our unique value proposition to them? Right. Let's not talk about this as donations, right? A donation to me feels like I'm giving you some money, like my spare change. I always talk about the volunteer for the Salvation Army outside of Macy's around the holidays, ringing the bell. It's like, just throw me your spare change. That diminishes what the real request is. No, this is an investment. I want you to invest X amount of money into our organization as we are on a path to solve or do X. And I'm going to tell you over and over again how we're doing. I'm going to hold myself accountable because you are investing your money into us creating better preventative programs for women between the ages of 45 and 54 in these zip codes to get breast cancer screening. Because if we do that, we'll prevent breast cancer. No one will get it. If we just screen, and then you're more connected. It's not you're giving your money away. It's you're investing in something. You're part of the solution. And that's how people are used to being treated to and spoken to. And I think it just makes then the comfort of giving more money a lot higher because you know your money's really making a difference. And again, it's not like the spare change in your pocket or your couch that you're dropping into a bucket. It's you're believing in that organization. I listened to one of your episodes with the CEO, I think it was the CEO of Charity Navigator. Mm-hmm. And one of the best things Charity Navigator's ever done is change the way they measure charities. Right. Because for so long, they were just saying, all right, like 20% of your budgets to overhead, you're bad. 10% of your budget to overhead is you're good. You get 4 stars.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't measure impact or anything. Right.
Yeah. Who again, like you go back to some of these examples, like Amazon 10 years ago, if you just looked at their financials, they were hemorrhaging money because they were scaling. And you would and you invested in them. You bought their stock. If you did that, you made a lot of money. Yep. Because you understood the plan, right? Like you were engaged, you were educated. So I'm glad that's happening. I think what Charity Navigator is doing is going to make a really big positive impression on the charity community because a lot of people focus on that. And this is the way it all has to move.
Right. I watched the Dan Pallotta thing where he talks about ask what is the scale of your dreams, not your ratio of overhead, which I hope every executive director and development director will rewind about 5 minutes and listen to that again, because that's exactly how we should all be looking at fundraising today.
I make everybody who works here watch the TED Talk. I share that TED Talk with everyone. I'm probably responsible for like 5% of the views on that video. It
I
was
bet I've watched it 10 times too.
It was 10 plus years ago. It still blows people's minds.
Still
blows everyone's mind who's not in this space.
It's true.
That's a problem.
It is a huge problem. And, so many organizations kind of follow this model where they engage donors with their annual gala or their golf tournament. But I think what you guys do is you kind of take this to a whole nother planet with the experiences that you curate. And so isn't one of the greatest value propositions that you offer is connecting people with organizations that would never probably really come together?
It's the asset we have. We have a customer base. We have a few 100,000 very affluent, generous, socially conscious customers who shop with CharityBuzz, bid with CharityBuzz, participate with CharityBuzz. So, their motivations change on a monthly, daily basis or by customer, but they're coming to us because we have these really unique opportunities and experiences that do support really great organizations. So for a charitable organization or a fundraiser, right, you're looking at your market. Who's your audience? Well, your audience is geographical or it's based on your cause, and it doesn't really grow that much because it's such a personal connection between an individual and a cause. So it's limiting. So how do you go outside of that box?
Totally limiting.
And that's what we do. We bring new people in. In a lot of cases, the customer who wins the experience, like I just came back from LA, and we have a partner out there called Project Angel Food, one of the most incredible organizations in the country. And they years ago sold 2 tickets to the Hollywood Bowl, like for a few $1,000. Wasn't crazy, but good money. And they decided they were just going to go to the Hollywood Bowl to thank the winner, give him his tickets, just say, hey, just so you know, like, we're appreciative. These 2 tickets that you're going to enjoy tonight help feed 100 families in LA. Like, what you did matters. He's like, oh, I want to learn more. So they engaged with him. He gave him a 7-figure gift the next year and joined their board. Oh. He would have, and I know him, he would have never learned about that organization if it wasn't for CharityBuzz, the unique experience. But then it was the organization's intelligence and proactivity to close the loop. And that's not going to happen every time.
Right.
But if it happens one time, it's worth the other 99 times it didn't work. So it's a cultivation tool.
Totally.
A fundraising tool. It's unrestricted dollars. They're all unrestricted funds. So yeah, once an organization really understands it and doesn't compare us to other online auction providers, that's just a software for you to tell all your existing people you've got an auction, but they get that part of our business. That's when like the eyes light up.
That's the magic.
And partnerships really happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, I know donors want to make sure that their money's making a difference. So what are kind of the trust indicators that you track or that you look at when you're trying to figure out who you want to partner with on the charitable side?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a business, we rely on whether it's state or federal databases just to make sure C3s are accurate, 990s are being filed, because we're trying to service the entire industry. Me personally, it's a bunch of different factors. I mean, I think first you have to identify or recognize what cause area you're investigating within, because there's a bunch of them that should be able to quantify what they do, right? It's like, we're better than everyone else because with us, like, $100 can go this far. But then, if it's like a human rights organization, I think it's way different, and you can't really quantify how many people's human rights you defended. Yeah. So I think then it comes down to I'm really interested in unique approaches to solving problems. Like, frankly, there's too many charitable organizations in this country because charities don't
Agreed.
go out of business. They don't merge. So you've got so many doing kind of the same thing. So I'm
Right.
interested about ones that are doing something different because of a very intimate understanding of the issue. One example is we work really closely with the Clooney Foundation for Justice. We also work really closely with RFK Human Rights. So in the human rights world, they're using strategic litigation
Mm.
to file suits against these horrible people that are taking advantage and violating large populations of their rights. So that's interesting to me, right? There's advocacy
Right.
work, but they're going to The Hague and they're filing suit. They're subpoenaing people and they're going to court with great lawyers. So they're using litigation as this really powerful tool to be able to defend and change laws to protect people. That speaks to me. So I think, it's like, how many years has an organization been there? Why are they uniquely positioned to be within this cause space? What kind of partnerships have they had in the past? I don't really look at 990s. I think it's just like, it's almost like a resume for somebody applying for a
It's
job.
true.
Like,
It's
one
true.
page is going to tell me whether or not you're good or.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a bunch of different factors. There's also a great company. It's an organization called Cause Reports, and they do like for-profit equity analysis type work on organizations to tell you whether or not they're doing a good job at what they
Yeah.
say they're doing. So it's kind of similar to what you're talking about the Charity Navigator CEO. It's
Yeah.
like, how good are you at doing this thing, and like, prove it.
Well, and I would love your perspective too on kind of what I would call legacy organizations that have been around for a long time doing great work, but they have been around a long time doing the same kind of things. That doesn't mean they still can't innovate and scale and grow. And I'm sure you've seen that, right?
Yeah, you see with a lot of, I mean, so we work really closely with LLS. And what they did was they decided to bring in a whole C-suite of people from the for-profit space, and that really kickstarted and changed
I'm sure.
different strategic plan. You saw the same with American Cancer Society based in Atlanta. They got a lot of like ex-Coca-Cola people through the front door and pharmaceutical executives. One of my personal organizations that I support, St. Jude. St. Jude is
Right.
like
Been around forever, but they're
and like
always looking for new ways to
as
do
good as they are, as forward thinking and innovative and tech savvy as any organization or company I've come around. So yeah, I
so
mean,
it
I
is
think
possible.
because I think it's important for those legacy organizations to stay around because they have so much infrastructure and they have such a big
Right.
brand name. People are
Mm-hmm.
going to give to them. People are doing direct mail to them for 40 years.
Uh-huh.
So you don't want them to go away. You want them to stay, but it's how are they approaching whatever issues they're focused on differently? Are they doing more partnerships with local organizations who maybe have like a think about like
Mhm.
Red Cross and disaster relief?
Right.
Like, you want to understand that community and
Yeah.
have them kind of take the lead versus you flying in and thinking you understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a lot of it, but I think it's all the same principles, whether it's new, old, in the middle. It's embrace innovation, move forward, and just, don't let these rules that you talked about because of a tax code change the way you operate. Like, you got to just go for it and
Yeah.
not let anything stop you.
Embrace innovation. That's a headline that right there. But if you look back on your career with CharityBuzz, prior to CharityBuzz, everything you've been through there, what are some of the leadership lessons that you've learned that you really still kind of lean on today?
If you're not the most enthusiastic person about what you're doing, then you shouldn't expect anyone else to be excited. So I always
Ah,
think one of my roles is I'm the chief cheerleader. I
that is
still like
such a good
very
one.
much love what I do, and I think a big part of my job is just to keep everyone enthusiastic. It's lucky, like we sell experiences with celebrities to support charities. So like, if you can't get out of bed and excited about what we do, then I don't know what to tell you. I think it's always keeping people really focused on your mission, your vision, your values. If you've got like strategic priorities, I start every staff meeting as a broken record, just going through them, trying to add a little bit of different color or energy to them. But like, I think as the CEO, your job is to make sure everyone's rowing in the same direction without you standing on top of them. So that's what those tools are for. And I think it all comes down to people, right?
Yeah.
Like talent management, human resources is incredibly important. I think it's the difference between making it and not. So if that's the case, giving that the time that it deserves, not just for hiring, but for managing, providing feedback, that should take the largest part, because if you can get the right people around you, they just make you look better.
Yep.
But again, then you have to be the chief cheerleader to keep them moving and pushing and
I love that,
and rolling
chief
in the same
cheerleader.
direction.
Well, that is MBA level stuff right there. So what excites you most and stimulates you regarding the future of CharityBuzz?
It's still such a huge opportunity. So, I mean, we've been around for a while. We've raised a lot of money.
Lot of money.
Lots of people still don't know who we are. So that excites me, because there's still that opportunity to meet with a charity or a prospective customer or partner and get that first impression feeling, right? Where they're like, oh, wait, you're telling me there's a place I can do this? How long have you been around? Oh my gosh. And you've worked with everyone. Why haven't I heard about you before?
Yeah.
That gets me really excited. And I think slowly but surely things will continue to move in the direction we want them to. So I think more than anything else is I believe in the charity sector. I believe it's an essential piece to our society. I think America's unique because our charity sector is so much stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to empower it more and more. And there is, I think at first when people hear that 2 to 2.5% of GDP goes to charity, and that's never changed in 60 years when they started measuring it.
Isn't that amazing?
People get like surprised. What are you talking about? That's crazy. But then if you peel back the layers, it actually makes sense, because what's really changed? Nothing.
Right.
So that's like the definition of insanity, right? Like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's a chance to do things differently and to just be part of trying to change a dynamic that has been around for so long is exciting, because that's hard.
Yeah.
That's going to take a lot of discipline, commitment, and time. But I like solving problems. I like almost like swimming against the current, which I think we're doing right here. Because I would still say 90% of people still think charities, like, what percentage of this dollar is going to the cause? It's such like an unsophisticated understanding of organizations that are trying to solve these problems.
Right.
So, like, I think if we just break this down, and again, we're able to get more money to charities, that's just better. And I get to do it in a for-profit business. I get to do it leveraging capitalism, which keeps me excited. And I get to advocate for other people to do the same. So that keeps me excited. And we just get to meet awesome people, whether it's the celebrities, the charitable executives or volunteers. And then like these customers we have are some of the most successful people in their own right.
Yeah.
But it's just there's something different about the folks that come to our big events and experiences. They're humble, they're brilliant, they're generous, and they're all kind of like bonded together over this idea of doing some really cool stuff, supporting some really good organizations. So all that,
and
just
it's not
like
a crime to have a good
excited.
time doing that, right?
People should all have a good time. Right? You work hard,
right?
Do all sorts of crazy cool stuff.
And help others at the same time. I love all of that. And Ben, as we wind down a little bit, I've got my final 4 that I always love to ask everybody. The first one is, what is something you will read, listen to, or watch today?
I just saved this article from the New Yorker about, it's like a panel of the leading media relations professionals about how media landscape has changed. And if you're just focused on earned media, you're going to be disappointed. Here's the way to look at media relations moving forward.
I love that. As an old sports PR guy, somebody asked me, "What's it like to be a sports PR guy?" It was so long ago for me. I said, "I have no idea. It's just it's not the same job I had." If you look back, who would you say has been a role model for you in your career?
My dad.
Nice.
Yeah, my dad's a sales guy. My dad grew up in Ohio, didn't have much. Went to the Navy, was a executive at Pfizer, and then throughout the healthcare and pharmaceutical world. And he's the one I go to whenever I have a question, an issue, and he's always points me in the right direction or reinforces what I'm thinking. So it's always my dad, Bob Erwin.
Such a great answer. So right off the top of your head, I love it. So if outside of CharityBuzz, is there organizations out there, and this is not a fair question, I'll preface, but is there organizations out there that you really admire the work that they're doing in this space?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting space. Like we have competitors, but I don't treat them as competitors because they're all trying to do good stuff. There's a really good organization called Pledge. They used to be called Pledgeling. They're based out of LA. It all started, the guy who's a founder, James, comes from the SMS world. And so they were really the first to do text to donate at scale. Huh. And they do a ton of activations in response to natural disasters. So when CNN is doing a huge profile of like the horrible tragic right? in Asheville, like they're powering the instant give money to the cause. And I think that's important for us because we don't get involved in those like immediate 48, 72 hours. Like people just want to give money. Like we don't want to be part of that. I want to be part 3-6 months later where nobody's thinking about Asheville anymore. But the work's not done. They're going to need millions and millions of dollars for years to rebuild. But now the media spotlight's gone to a different tragedy or issue. And they're left there saying, well, everyone forgot about us. That's where we come in, and then we can help compel people to give new money, continue to shine a light there. So with people like Pledge, it's like a great 1-2 punch, I like to say, and helps us think about the problem more holistically.
Fantastic. Well, lastly, maybe most importantly, what's the best way for people to find you, learn more about CharityBuzz, get involved with the auctions, and just get involved with what you're doing?
Yeah, so a few ways. One is, and you can put this in the notes of the podcast. My email is berwin@CharityBuzz. Email me. I have an addiction to responding to emails. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of content there. It's a lot of thoughts similar to what we've been talking about today. Sign up for our newsletter at CharityBuzz.com. Then you can just learn about what's coming up. We add new things every day. And if you're a charity, you want to talk about partnerships, email or connect with me on LinkedIn. We've got a great team here. There's no obligations. There's no strings attached. We just want to learn about what you're working on and figure out a way to help you raise new and incremental dollars through our generous community of customers.
Ben, this has been a fascinating conversation. I've loved learning more about what you do, and we'll be cheering you on. Thanks again for joining me, and keep up the great work.
Thanks, Jay. I really enjoyed it too.
Thanks for listening, and thanks to Ben for his efforts to transform charitable giving through capitalism with CharityBuzz. This podcast was brought to you by JC Charity Services. Positivity is the competitive advantage, and as a John Gordon certified Power of Positive trainer, I'd love to bring that competitive advantage to your organization. You can find me at makingourworldbetter.com or jay@jccharityservices.com. Let's connect and talk about it. To learn more about CharityBuzz and how you can participate in their amazing auctions and experiences, visit charitybuzz.com and follow Ben on LinkedIn for his great insights. Check the show notes for links, and if you enjoyed this show, we'd be grateful if you'd share it with a friend. Until next time, I hope you're inspired to find a way to make our world better.